Welcome to our discussion of putting on a talis. Of course, there's the talis we wear over our clothes. There's also a talis katan, that tzitzit, which is worn underneath the shirt. It's generally advisable, since that blessing over the shirt, over the under tzitzit, the talis katan, the small talis, is questionable exactly what blessing to make. It's better not to make a blessing first thing in the morning, and we'll make a blessing over this, and we'll simply move the tzitziyot. And with that, we will cover the blessing both for the talis gadol and for the talis katan. Before we begin to put on the talis, it's a good idea, some put it over the shoulder, or you could just take a look at the tzitziyos and make sure the tzitzis are separated. You don't want them to be all kind of bunched and twisted together. They're supposed to be like tzitzit roshi, that's like the hair. And hairs should be separated and combed out. You also want to make sure that there are 5 knots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that each knot is double knotted. The last knot is tight. Sometimes the last knot becomes loosened. I happen to be wearing techeles, the blue thread, as my friend Ari Greenspan is a major proponent of this notion of rediscovering the blue thread. Rabbi Soloveitchik and his family have argued that we don't have the tradition, we don't know exactly what it is, and since there's no tradition of it, we can't say for sure that this is it. However, all evidence seems to point in this direction that this is the techeles, the blue thread, of which reminds us of the sky, which reminds us of the sea, which reminds us of the sky, which reminds us of the throne of God, and reminds us of God. So that in that way, the tzitzis help remind us of God. It also has the word tzitzit. It has a numerical value of tzadi, 90, yud, 10, tzadi, 90, yud, 10, that's 200, taf, that's 400, 200 plus 400 is 600. Then there are 5 knots on each tzitzit, and also 8 strings that come out at the end, and therefore that's 5 plus 8 is 13. Reminding us of the 613. We then take the Tallit, and as a technical matter, it's a good idea to have the atara, the fancy part of the top of the talis facing you, and then you can flip it around thusly. Right before you're about to put it over your head, put it on your body, you make the following bracha. Some have the custom to say, prior to this, to say, Elohai gadalta mod, hod vadar lavashta, ota or kariya, ota shemayim kiriya. However, if you haven't made the birchas HaTorah yet, if you haven't said the blessings over the Torah, it's not a good idea to say it at that point. Now we place it over our head and we'll make the blessing. Notice that I'll also touch my tzitzis on my shirt in order to cover that as well. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu litatef b'tzitzit. It's sort of like an Arab kafiyah of sorts, and that helps fulfill the notion of lit atef. Some also recite the following words as well: Ma'yakar chastecha Elohim v'nei adam betzel knafecha yechsayun yirviyun mideshem beitecha v'nachal necha tashkem ki mecha mekor chayim b'orchan yira'or asher chastecha liyodecha v'zikidvecha liyishrei lev. There are various customs as to how to do the atifah. Some put it over one shoulder, some just put it over their eyes, thusly. And then there was that other method I displayed before, in which there's more of a kafiyah and is thrown over one shoulder. The idea of tzitzit is to remember the mitzvot at all times, to be surrounded by mitzvot on all sides. There is a notion that Rabbi Soloveitchik said, perhaps the wrapping be wrapped around like this, but most people wear their talis thusly, so that you have the tzitzit on all 4 sides. An interesting method: you hold this with one hand, and then put your other hand in the middle. You can then put the tallit over your shoulder. Again, with one hand, put it over your shoulder. They have these these talitot that don't slip. That's one way of doing it. Some wear a clip over here as well. During Dvarim Shebikdusha, things that require a minyan, some people like to put their talis over their head, like this. But others say that that's only for the rabbis and scholars. During the Yud Gimel Midos, the 13 principles of God's mercy, it's also a very strong custom for the chazan to cover his head, to be wrapped with a talis, because God demonstrated, so to speak, that that's how you ask for mercy, to be wrapped with a talis. Hopefully, by covering our head with the talis, hopefully by wearing the talis, we remind ourselves that we're surrounded by mitzvos, we remember the mitzvos, and hopefully we'll remember the mitzvos, as Ibn Ezra says, not only during shul, during davening, but we'll remember the mitzvos at all times. That's why it's so important to try to wear tzitzis at all times, like under the shirt, so that we can always be surrounded by mitzvos, always try to remember mitzvos of Hashem. There's another hint in tzitzis as well. That is, we wear it under our garments. It's a private element. It's why it's for men. It's a special reminder for men to behave properly and to do what is proper. That's our lesson for tzitzit today. Thank you for joining us here at the Anshe Sfar Beth Elameth congregation for this lesson. And join us for other how-to videos on how to wear a tallit. Thank you, and thanks to Jason Lefkowitz for making today's presentation possible. Thank you.